little bit about me, who I am, and what my journey has been. My mother was severely mentally ill. She was paranoid schizophrenic and bipolar. It's a combination I don't wish on anyone. She's a brilliant woman, but she had her challenges. We put my sister and I through many, many challenges. She came up with her own religions. One day we came home from school and she threw away all the TVs because God was against pictures. We were made to sit in the house for hours looking at the telephone wire because birds were up there. She believed God was leading her through the birds. If the birds were on the wire, whatever the question was, the answer was no. If the birds were off the wire, no matter what the question was, the answer was yes. Sad to say, we missed school some days because the birds sat on the wire. And this challenged my sister and I. We were tossed back and forth between my mom and my dad and my grandparents. By the time I was 10 years old, I had lived in 5 states, and some of them twice already. It was very interesting growing up. I never thought about it then, but it was really culture shock. I went to 3 different high schools, one in the rural South, North Carolina, one in California. It was a whole different idea, and one in the Northeast, in Massachusetts. And throughout this time, my mother would constantly marry and remarry, marry and remarry, much like myself. They say, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But I finally got it right. And through those experiences, and my father was not much different, other than his absenteeism. And I always like to say out there, I have 10 brothers and sisters, between all my mama's husbands, all my daddy's wives and girlfriends. And I've been fortunate enough to at least have a relationship with all of them. And so through this trial and error, as a child growing up, I tried my hand at many things. Being such a tumultuous upbringing, I didn't finish high school. I ended up dropping out. I did get a GED. And I tried the Army for a moment. It didn't work out so well. Me and Uncle Sam early on saw that we weren't going to see eye to eye. And I was asked to leave before I barely got started. And through a plethora of jobs, as my wife mentioned, I used to do stand-up comedy. One of my taglines is that I had more jobs than a Jamaican. Because I have worked everywhere, have done some of everything. But I learned along the way. And through this experiences, I began to get married. Like I said, began to get married. I've been married for over 25 years, but it's taken me 4 wives to do it. However, my wife and I are now, as she mentioned, happily married now. Through all those experiences, they were very painful. Each divorce was more painful than the last, more expensive than the last. It was so painful one time where I contemplated leaving the country. I was paying such astronomical child support and alimony. And I was already booked for a cruise. All I had to do was miss the boat coming back. Simple. During this time, I became depressed, even suicidal. I was in such pain and agony. I didn't want to live anymore. But all I could think about was my 3 girls that would be fatherless. See, I grew up without my father for the most part. And as I stood on that roof, I can remember vividly a cool October day, working on one of the units. And these units run off of 460 volts. Just a point of reference, your house, the outlet is 120, and that's enough to kill you. As I stood there in a depressed state, hurting so badly, not wanting to go on, I contemplated grabbing the electrical bus bar and just end it all. But it was my love for my girls that kept me here. Times were so hard when I would pick my girls up. I didn't have money to take them to the movies. After all, there were 3 of them. All I could afford was a $2 kite at Walmart. We would go to that park every weekend and fly that kite until the wings fell. When it came time for dinner, there was a $2 Jack Pizza on the menu. But the important thing is that you're there for your children. And what brought me out of that deep depression, being strapped financially, not to mention I was behind on my taxes to the federal and the state IRS, being laid off, having 4 major surgeries, 2 spinal cord surgeries. How did I get from there to where I call myself the Bliss Doctor now? It was a series of steps I took that I'm going to share with you. If you change your thinking, you can change your life. Because when bad things happen to us, we tend to spiral down. Because this was bad, and that was bad. And of course, another bad thing is coming. And that's where I was. During this period, I had a therapist that told me to journal. And I would journal. But that was a sad story I was writing. My days are long, and my nights are longer. I don't want to go on. For many, journaling helps if you write about the right things. To me, there was nothing to look forward to. It had been bad, it is bad in the present, and all I'm seeing in the future is more bad. But changing that story to where as long as I could stand up and I had breath in my body, I had to change. But I had to change the way I was looking at things. I had to change the way I had perceived even the past. As I shared earlier, my dad was not very present in my life. He was there for 2 out of the 18 years. But I changed that story. I didn't change the facts. The way I changed that story, when my mom became severely mentally ill and could not care for my sister and I, my dad showed up. So I changed that story to say he was there when I needed him. That gives the story a whole different connotation. There was another time when I was back living with my mother, and she and I were not getting along. She physically threw me out. It was a tragic day. I was 15 years old. She called my dad, and he sent me a bus ticket. Albeit it was from North Carolina to Massachusetts, as a 15-year-old. 18-and-a-half-hour bus ride. That was a little different. But again, when I needed him, he was there. The way you tell your story about you can make all the difference in the world. We use Bliss as our platform. We also use it as an acronym. B is to be bold in your decision making. You have to decide your life is going to be better. Make a bold declaration. I don't care what it looks like. Then you learn how to leverage your past and your present to where it empowers you instead of further suppressing you. The I is take inspired action. Move in a direction towards something you want in life. And the first S is to put self first. How many of you are so busy taking care of everything and everybody that when it comes to taking care of you, there's no more time. There's no more energy. There's no more money. We take care of so many people and so many things. But you have to put self first. Even your Bible tells you to love one another as you love yourself. You have to know how to love yourself in order to love someone else. Put yourself first. Self-care is a very important aspect. As I referenced in our book, chapter 6, love the one you're with. Who are you with the most? You're with yourself. Take care of you first. Because when you fill your cup, you are now in a better position to serve others. It's hard to serve out of an empty container. Fill yourself up. Love self. Care for self. Do good to yourself. Then you are better able to serve. Because when you're serving out of an empty container, we become resentful. Resentful can lead to bitterness and total dissatisfaction with everything. Don't they see all I'm doing for them? That's how we feel sometimes. But when you fill your cup, you're able to serve them from a healthy place. And the last S, start now. How many times have we said, I'm going to get to that later? I'll do that tomorrow. And many of those things in our lives we want to do or we need to do. How many times have you walked past that basket of laundry and said, I'll get to that tomorrow? And what it does, it just drains a little bit more of your energy every time you walk past it. Every time you walk past those things you think you should have done, it zaps your energy. It pulls your strength. So if it's pulling your strength and you're not doing self-care and you're serving everybody else, no wonder you're at your wit's end. And they keep piling more stuff on you at work. And we just feel like the weight of the world is on our shoulders. It's not necessary to carry the weight of the world. When we look back, some of us say, I should be further along in life. I went to school. I did this. I should be here. I should be there. We address that in the regret chapter. We call that the land of CWS. The land of coulda, woulda, shoulda. I could have done more if I'd have got the right degree. I should have did better by my kids. I would be in a better place if I'd have married the right one the first time. But you have to get out of the land of coulda, woulda, shoulda. You can't change the past. But you can leverage every experience that you've had. You can leverage those experiences, because in every experience you learn something. The lessons are not clear at first. Sometimes it's, why did I go through that? Why is it me? And you don't have to understand it now. But learn to move toward your goal. When you set intentions, to what you want to be, many of us are blocked by negative limiting beliefs and we don't even know it. How many have ever heard money don't grow on trees? Called you to be a penny pincher. Well, you know, that's not for us. That's those people. We're not entitled to that stuff. We're not good enough. Or maybe we've been in relationship after relationship that has told us we're not lovable. And we don't deserve love. You are worthy. See, these beliefs have an accumulative effect. And I'm going to share with you how they happen and how they can be broken with my demonstration. All right? I want to use for an example, when when you were a toddler? And this is the interactive part. This is the part where we got to answer just shouting on it. Okay? I want you to think of a toddler and the attributes of a toddler. And I'll get you started. They are energetic, right? Are they energetic? Okay. So let's pour this in here, a little Coke. And what else is a toddler?
Inquisitive.
They're very inquisitive. They ask questions. They're not ashamed to ask a question, right? Many of us hold back questions because we don't want to sound like we don't know. What else is a toddler? Uninhibited. Wow. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. What else is a toddler kind of loving? Yeah. And if he gets in a fight with his friend 5 minutes later, they've forgiven him, and so he's forgiving, right? These toddlers are wonderful little people. Right? And they just fill your heart with joy. Right? They're full of joy and laughter. Okay? But now what happens to this toddler as he grows up? It's just called life. Right? At some point along the line, this toddler is told to be quiet. So he's not going to be uninhibited. They're taught to hold grudges. They're taught to be less forgiving. And at some point, he's told he's not good enough. He's not as smart as little Johnny. He's not as athletic as Bob. So you're told all of these things growing up. And it begins to compound layer on layer. And worse than that, we agree with him. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. So we compound the misinformation that we've been given about ourselves. But the real you is still in there, right? The real you, that excited toddler, that uninhibited toddler, that loves and forgives, is still in there. But we're still pouring on ourselves limiting negative beliefs. And so as we get a little older, we try to dress it up. Got a little glitter here. we got to look good if we ain't nothing else, right? So we try to dress it up with a degree, right? Okay. This little gold glitter here. We try to dress it up with a little makeup because we want to look good. And you got to be fashionable. So you get the latest styles, right? Then we try to have relationships. And hey, if I'm a couple, that increases my status. We try to dress it up with all this stuff. Then you try to dress it up with a good job over here at Wells Fargo. Thinking that's going to make us feel better about ourselves. But all the time, you're battling. I'm not good enough. I can't. But we keep dressing it up. So we get that fancy car we've been wanting. You buy that nice house in that neighborhood you've always wanted to live in. And we're just covering up a mess. How do I get the real me up here and get rid of all of this bad stuff? This is how we do it. We put the real thing back in. That was Coke slogan, right? The real thing. That's you. You're the real deal. So we need to put a little more love in there. We need to put a little more quick to forgive in there. We got to tell ourselves that we're worthy and we are enough. And see how the things change. And you begin to get full of the real you. And you keep putting good information in there. You need to surround yourself with positive people that encourage you. And the more you do that, the more you tell yourself you're worthy of love, the more you tell yourself you're a great person, what happens to all the bad? It gets pushed out. It gets pushed out. And if you look, the glitter is still there. That job, that house, that relationship, but it's the real you that's enjoying. And when you can enjoy being the real you, that's what comes across in a more positive light. That's what comes across when you go on an interview. That's what comes across when you're dating online, like where I met my wife. The real you, as you put one foot in front of the other, you look forward to the good thing. When you change your thinking and change your narrative, you can change your present and your future. You can live the life you always wanted to live. You can go ahead and write that book you've been talking about writing. You can go ahead and start that business that you wanted to do. You can go ahead and volunteer for that organization you've always wanted to volunteer for. You can be a positive impact in the world. You can begin to enjoy your life where you are. It's nice to do wonderful things. My wife and I have been fortunate. But we've traveled around the world and done some exciting things. I'm an avid skier. My youngest daughter, when she graduated, we skied the French Alps. Amazing for a graduation present. That was an amazing trip for us. My other daughter, we went to Jamaica. I had an opportunity to scuba dive because I set out to enjoy life. You have to decide to have fun. We often look at life as an either-or proposition. Either I can have this or I can have that. I'm an and kind of guy. I like this and that. And with a little consideration and belief in yourself, you can begin to enjoy everything you desire and want. It won't happen overnight, but as you move toward it, all the universe begins to line up to make your dreams come true. When I was dating my wife, I told her, look here, you about ready to experience the Millette magic. Yeah, I did sound kind of full of myself. And I was. But I shared with her the laws of attraction, how to attract the things you want into your life. You can literally do that by setting your intentions, lining your conversation up with what you want. And you will begin to see things synchronized. Like Wayne Dyer used to say, he called it divine synchronicity, where all the universe lines things up to make your dreams come true. You ever hear people say they live under Murphy's Law? Anybody know about Murphy? Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. I got divorced from Mr. Murphy. I began to internalize that which I wanted and change my narrative. Because from my upbringing, there was no way they could see the life I live now. Dropped out of high school, Army reject, dysfunctional family, shipped back and forth across the country, divorce after divorce. Oh, did I fail to mention bankruptcy? Did I fail to mention my home was foreclosed on? But there was no reason for me to believe that things were going to get better. But I decided I was going to enjoy life regardless. I was going to be a father to my children regardless. I was going to spend time with them. And I asked my kids, I did one of those 360 evaluations. I don't know if you're familiar with Jack Canfield. He wrote Success Principles. It says we have to be 100% responsible for where we are. And so I asked my coworkers, my family, on a scale of 1 to 10, how am I? As a boss. I asked my upline, how am I as a manager? I asked my children, how am I as a dad? You gotta be ready for that answer. But I was fortunate. My daughter, the youngest one, she said, Daddy, you're a 10. And the follow-up question, if I'm not a 10, what do I need to do to get to a 10? So even though she said 10, I said, well, what is it that I'm doing that makes me a 10? She says, because you were there. You were there for my track meets. You were there for my band concerts. You were there when I was in the Glee Club. You sold Girl Scout cookies for me. You were always there. And you know how close I came to not being there? I almost left the country when I was behind on child support. And I owed a lot in back taxes. I came so close to not being there when I contemplated suicide. So be present with your children. Be present in your relationship. You ever come home and just tired? Just want to sit down for a minute, don't want to be bothered with nobody? Want to shut the world out? What I learned with my kids, if I gave them that 10 minutes, that's all, because they're just full of words, but they run out about after 10 minutes when they want to go do something else. Be present where you are. Be present when you're at work. We're so worried about what's going to happen when I get home. What's going to happen next week? Be present. When you're present, you can begin to experience the bliss in your life. Just the simple things of being thankful. Thankful that you're here. Thankful that you got an opportunity. I know we're taught, and we go into our annual performance appraisals, and they can tell you 8 things that you did well. They tell you the 2 things you need to improve on. When you leave the meeting, what are you thinking about? The 2 things you thought you did better on than they did, right? I know I did. But look at what you did do. Look at what you did accomplish. Because we do have enough time to get done everything we need to do. I know I get pushed back on this often. There's a statement, a woman's work is never done. You ever said it? You ever heard it? I respectfully disagree. I don't have enough time. Is that what for me? But what I like to do is reverse engineer. When we think of the creator that created this planet with 24 hours in a day, are we willing to challenge the creator that there was not enough time put in a day? Or maybe we're trying to do too much. Maybe we're unorganized. Maybe we're procrastinating. But if you think you don't have enough time, in your mind and in your body, you feel like you don't have enough time. So I'll challenge each one of you today to say, I have enough time to do everything I need to do. And at the end of the day, look at what you did get done, not what you didn't. That would change your way of being in the earth. When I am enough, I have enough time. I have enough capability to get done everything I need to get done. And back from my ministerial days, where it said, there's a scripture that says, my God shall supply all my need according to his riches in glory. So if I don't have it right now, I must not need it. I will know what I need to know when I need to know it. I will have what I need to have when I need to have it. And I'm okay where I am now. Because if I don't have it, I must don't need it. I may want it right now. I may think I need it. But you are enough, and you have enough. And that attitude of gratitude, that, yay, I'm still here. I'm still in the game. I got another chance to continue to love and be loved. I'm going to close with my definition of bliss, where at Millennium Enterprises we say, let me help you find your bliss. And our definition of bliss is the ability to love and to be loved, have abundance, in complete forgiveness, and without judgment. I like to say that twice, because it takes time to sink in. To have bliss is to have the ability to love and be loved, to have abundance in complete forgiveness. That's not only forgiving others, that's forgiving yourself. And without judgment of others, and without judgment of ourselves. Because sometimes we can be our own worst critics. Because we want you to experience bliss in your life every day. It's possible. Well, first you got to believe it's possible. Then you just got to take steps toward it. And as you take one step, all the universe will line up to you to make your dreams come true. And that's my time. I'm open for questions. I want to thank Sarah for inviting us. I want to thank you for your attentiveness and the ability to share with you. I'm just humbled to be in your presence. Thank you very much. So does anybody have any questions? No questions. That make me think sometimes people wasn't listening. But I definitely appreciate you. And I'm thankful that you guys, that I can come and share with you today. And my wife is here to share with me and help and assist me. And you can see us in the back. Like I said, our book is available. Talk Straight, Dad, How to Turn Your